In today's tutorial, we're going to review on how to do a temperature Afghan. This is based on the weather, and let's do this next. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we're going to review on how to do a temperature Afghan. This is based on the weather, on what is happening in your region, or you can select any other region in the world for that matter. Basically the concept is that the Afghan is telling the temperature throughout a time frame, whether it's a year, a month, or a week's. That's completely up to you on how you want to be able to do that. So when we go to look at it, you probably see the blue, can assume it's around the winter time as it transforms into spring, then goes into the summer, and then really hot summer, and then this one happens to finish. But then as the fall would come about, it would cool down back to the yellow here, back to the green, and then back to the blue. So it's a really kind of an interesting concept. What you're seeing here is half double crochet on this particular pattern, but most temperature Afghans are done with single crochet, and we're going to be reviewing that as well. So as mentioned, it's based on the weather. So you could do the highs of the day or the low of the day, or the actual temperature that you're reading in your own home as far as the thermometer outside the window, and you can determine what colors that you want to do with yourself in order to make it. So you take your temperature gauge, you record it somewhere, and then you use a color that you've assigned that particular temperature. So let's look at a thermometer, and I'm going to give you some ideas with that as well. So the more information of this video, there's going to be a link, and it's going to be this thermometer plus the other thing that I'm about to show you in a bit. So we have a thermometer that is based on an average, okay, but you can change anything that you would like to see within here. So for example, you've got the reds here and the purples. It's kind of like the colors just kind of transitioning on itself, and it looks really amazing. But what happens if you don't have the right colors? Well, what you can do is that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 colors. If you want to do more colors, that's completely up to you, but you just have to change the temperature ranges. So for example, I don't necessarily have the right orange, so what I can just do is go to my collection and say this is my orange, and I could just tape it down. And then here's my red. Maybe I want to do more of a fuchsia instead of a red itself. You can just tape that down just like that. So it gives you an idea on what you would like to do, and then if you have blues like I do, is that maybe you have something that's pretty close to it there, and then maybe even a colder blue if you want to. So just because it's showing you these particular colors doesn't mean you have that in your collection, and you can just play around with it. So just tape it down and make sure you may want to write down the actual ball name number on top of this once you tape it down, so that you'll never forget what ball that is. Now that's just an option, but what if you don't really have this range of temperature within your area? Let's talk about that. So some of us, including me, we don't get up to these major temperatures very often, and sometimes I do for about a week, and then it's dropping down again. So what you can determine to do is that you can change any of the ranges. So for example, this middle green is 54 to 66 Fahrenheit, or 13 to 19 degrees. Now for example, say that you're always hovering there for a long time frame, you can divide that color and you can put a line through it and say, you know what, so maybe from 13 to 15 it's this, and 16 to 19 it's that, and just divide this color into half so that it's 2 different shades. You can do that. That's completely optional to you. Some of us that live way far in the north may not actually even see any of this stuff here, but we're ranging down here. And then some of us get really well below here. This is only minus 6 degrees. It can be minus 20 where I live, and so you may want to extend it down and go even further to provide other colors, so when it gets even colder. That's completely optional, and it's completely up to you. So the trick is to go to the Weather Network or anywhere online to be able to find the temperatures, and sometimes we can't crochet every day. So it makes it easier if you can crochet a little bit, and you know, you get your daily crochet in as well, and just zip across for the line. But you know, some days you might have the same color that's just continuing, so instead of finishing it off at the end of the line, you just leave it on your hook and then determine the next temperature, and if it's the same, just keep on going, and if not, then you would change your color to be something else that is maybe ranging. Sometimes depending on the weather, it could really jump from this area to here all just really quite rapidly, especially in the spring and the fall, and it could be really an amazing looking Afghan project. I have to say, these kind of Afghans get a lot of local publicity too. If you submit them to a television station, they love all this stuff for the weather networks and stuff. So it's really kind of a cool concept. So I talked about that this is usually a single crochet. Let's talk about the sizes of Afghans. So I also did a sheet for you that is based on chain counts on when to start different sizes, and I did this primarily for this particular tutorial, and I worked out all the math. It took me a couple hours to do, and I did some swatch samples as well, and I used 4 different sizes of hooks. I used a 5mm H, 5.5mm I, 6mm J, and 6.5mm K, and I worked out how many stitches there were per inch. So here's what the Afghan size across would be. These are all in inches all the way down. Everything from a receiving blanket. Maybe you want to take the month prior to the baby being born as a temperature idea of what the temperature was just before, or maybe even a month after the baby's been born. It's kind of fun, right? So you have all the different sizes in the inches in the width. Then for those that would like to really go far with this, is that there's what is called a drape. It falls over the mattress, so it kind of not only goes on top of the mattress, so this is on top of the mattress, this here would be then it's draping on both sides of the mattress. So then I worked out that if you want to use a 5mm size H, in order to get a receiving blanket you'll need to chain 90 to start. Okay, do you see that? So then if you wanted to use a different hook, maybe let's just say a 6mm size J, just come over here and it's 78. So why do the numbers go down as we get a bigger hook? It's because the chains are bigger, so that means that it gets to this size of 24 inches faster with less chains. So it really is up to you on your project on the size hook that you want to use. You will use approximately around a 5mm to 5.5 generally, and this is kind of a really cool concept. So let's talk a little bit about the yarn. So generally speaking, Caron Simply Soft is a really good vibrant line in order to really do some amazing colors. I will not deny that. And what you want to do is that you want to look to the ball band underneath right here, and this is telling you what size hook that it wants you to use. So it's a 5mm size H. So if you bring back that sheet that I had for you, a 5mm size H, here is your starting chains for the different size. So say you want to do a throw for your sofa. Okay, so a 5mm size H, a throw would be 225 chains to begin, and then you would start your pattern of just a single crochet or half double crochet, whichever you prefer. Most of the temperature Afghans are done in single crochet, but you can see that it can follow. But just because it suggests that with this particular yarn of a 5mm, you can go 5.5. So if you wanted to do 5.5 in the throw instead, it'd only be 210 chains. This means that there's less stitches per row, therefore it'd probably be quicker for you to crochet as well. So you have to make a determination up to you with what you would like to do. So now I'm going to show you how to get started. So I'm going to use a 5mm size H, what it suggests on the yarn ball for the Caron Simply Soft, and you'd want to create a slip knot to begin. Now you're just going to chain the number of chains of the project that you want to do, whether it's a receiving blanket all the way to California king size on my sheet. That's up to you. I'm only going to chain 10 here just as an example today. I'm going to show you how to change color. That's primarily the concept here. So I'm just going to chain 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now this color that I just chose would be based on the temperature of the day that you're starting. So let's just say it's kind of cold out today. So you're going to start off there and you're going to complete one line. So you're just going to go second chain from the hook, and you're just going to go into the second and the back loop only and just single crochet. Usually temperature Afghans are single crochet. You can do half if you want to, or even double. It just means that they will get to a size a lot faster, and if you're looking for temperature, you may in 365 days, that's a lot of rows. You know, you may want to do every other day. That's completely up to you, and you can tell the story of the temperature then by the end of the year that you're working on. You can also look back in the past and do some of your history, and you can do like maybe your birth month way back in the early years of when you were born, and do an Afghan that is representative of maybe you or maybe even a friend. So you're just gonna chain all the way across. So just for argument's sake, I say that tomorrow's temperature is the same. I'm not gonna fasten off. I would just leave it on the hook, get tomorrow and see the temperature, say hey, it's the same. So just turn it then and just single crochet yourself back. But for tutorial reasons, what I'm gonna do is that once I get to the end of this one, I'm gonna say that the temperature has changed, and then we gotta finish off. So I would leave it on the hook until the next day, or the next time you take your temperature, that you're ready to go, because you never know. Like why have to weave in ends when you're going to use the same color? So I'm continuing to go right to the end, and here's the last one. So I say, okay, I've done my temperature for today, put it aside, and then I come back tomorrow. So tomorrow I say, okay, it's done. This color is not valid because I checked my gauge and I realized that the next color is in a different color palette. It's in a different temperature. So I'm just gonna fasten off and just gonna pull it through, and what I want to do is just weave in my strands. Okay, if you want to use a darning needle, that's completely up to you. This way is good too. So I'm just weaving them through the stitches on the top. Okay, and now I've got it in enough. I'm gonna turn it. So I'm gonna turn my project and I'm gonna begin. So I'm not gonna cut this out until I get past it. So let's get my next color, and it's gonna be pink. So let's just say on my gauge I had a pink. So to start my next color, I will just start off with the slip knot just as my own comfort zone and put it onto the needle or onto the hook, and I go into the top of the very first one that we had started with. Okay, right into the top there, and I want to take the strand that's going to the ball, just put it around my hand, and put the other one so it's down flat on the line. So just pull through. This is a slip stitch, chain up one, and coming into the same one I want to slip stitch in. Or sorry, I want a single crochet. So leaving this straggler down on the top of the line, you can bury it, and now you're just gonna work your way across the row of single crochet. So if you're burying everything as you go, you don't have any really ends to sew in later. So you're just gonna go across with your new color. And again, once you're get far enough away, so I've got about an inch or so just done, I would take my scissors and cut that out. Be done. No tails left at the end of your project. So then I continue to go along. So then my temperature has been taken. I'm all excited about it, and now I can wait. So some people like to take their temperatures like 6-7 days in advance, and they do 7 lines in a row. That's completely up to you on what you would like to do. So leave it on your hook, take your next temperature, determine if you're gonna come or go, and if it's gonna change back. And let's just say it's cooled down once again. I'm just gonna fasten off, weave in the ends. And so especially in the major season changes of like spring and falls, you're gonna see a lot of colors bouncing around with different things, and it's awesome. So you're gonna turn your work, and we're gonna bring our blue back. So just create a slip knot to begin. Coming into the end one. Okay, just get this from going to the yarn ball, pull through. There's a slip stitch, chain one, and then one single crochet in the same one. Again, same thing, leave that straggler down on top and just single crochet yourself across. So you'll be able to say, you know what, it was really cool, and you will see different ideas. So for example, say the weather changes again tomorrow, you may have just one line of just a certain color, and then other colors may be thicker, just like I kind of showed you in that beginning picture that we began with. Like sometimes you end up with using the same color for quite so many days because the temperature is pretty much the same. So once you get far enough across, you're just gonna, and you buried your ends, you're just gonna take those out and then go to the end of your project and then wait for the next temperature. So this is kind of how you do a temperature afghan, just really quite simple, and you can see it's reversible. You have the stitches on both sides, and again, those colors that you decide when you go to do your particular project right at the beginning, this here is going to determine your afghan, the way that it's going to look, and so you might end up with something so cool just like that. So until next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of the Crochet Crowd as well as yarnspirations.com. Have a great afternoon. See you again real soon. Bye bye.